Hey Soul Fam, today I have for you a balancing yoga sequence. So if you haven't already, come sit down with me with your legs crossed, spine nice and tall, shoulders are on the back, slight tuck in the chin, placing the hands on the knees or together in the lap, and closing the eyes. And we'll bring our awareness inwards to our breath. We're just observing the natural rhythm here. Bringing ourselves into the present moment. We can take a nice deep breath in and out, completely emptying our minds of all thoughts, preparing our bodies and mind for this little balancing flow. Just staying with the natural rhythm of your breath. And each time your mind wanders and gets lost in thought, bring it back to your natural rhythm. Staying present with our natural breath. And then we can bring the hands together in prayer in front of the chest, bow the head down and lift the head. And then we can find our way onto all fours. We're then going to tuck the toes underneath and take the hips back and up into our downward facing dog. And we're just going to stay here for a moment to stretch it out. So you can paddle the feet, take your dog for a walk, or you can just bend the knees very generously and find stillness in the pose. Making sure we're not locking in those elbows. And then inhaling, look between the hands, walk the feet towards, maybe we bend the knees and come up on the fingertips and fold it forwards. Then inhaling, rolling up the spine, coming up to standing. So we'll begin our balance and flow with eagle pose. So shifting our weight onto our left leg, we're going to wrap the right leg over in front, and we can rest the balls of the feet on the mats and bring the hands in prayer. If you feel like you could take it a step further, you can then hook that foot fully round the back of the calf and sink those hips down. Find a point in the room to focus on to help you with your balance. Maybe you fall out, that's absolutely fine. Just bring yourself back into the pose and take your time. One more breath here. And then exhaling, we can gently release and try not to put that foot down, leaving it up. If we are struggling with our balance, we can pop the ball of the feet back down on the mat, resting the ankle on the heel on the ankle, or we can bring that foot to the calf or all the way up to the inner thigh for our tree pose. Again, finding a point in your room to focus on for stability. Allow a slight bend in that standing leg, in the knee, and really press down through the toes, staying where you are. I'm just going to adjust myself. From here we're going to move into warrior 3. So exhaling, gently release that foot and trying not to pop that foot down. We're going to take it back, lengthening behind us into our warrior 3. The back foot is flexed, pointing towards the floor, and both the hips are pointing towards the floor as well. Again, we can have a slight bend in that standing leg to protect the joint. We don't want to be locking the knee. One more breath here, and then exhaling, bringing that leg back through it in towards the chest. And maybe we just stay here holding on to the knee. If we can take it a step further, we'll bring the right arm to the inside of that leg, using our peace fingers to grab hold of the big toe. And exhaling, extending the leg out in front of us for standing hand to big toe pose. And again, standing leg strong. We can have the left hand on the hip And again, finding a point in the room to focus on for stability. And then exhaling, we can gently release that foot down. We'll move through a little vinyasa sequence just to bring us onto the other side. So inhale, take the arms out and up. Exhale, folding it forwards, bring the belly to thighs, placing the hands down on the mat. Inhale for our half lift, come up onto the fingertips, shins or thighs, nice flat back. Then exhaling, planting the hands back down on the mat and stepping it back into our plank pose. Then we can bring the knees, chin and chest down to the mat. Inhaling, sliding the body forwards and lifting the chin up into our upward facing dog. Exhale, take it back to our downward facing dog. And take a moment here to paddle the feet, stretch out the legs before we move on to the other side. So inhaling, look between the hands. Again, walk the feet towards the hands, folding it forwards, and then inhaling for a half lift. Hands on the shins or thighs, and then just coming back up to standing with a nice flat back. So we'll do that little sequence again, but on the right side this time. So we'll shift our weight onto the right leg, bringing the hands in prayer position, and then wrapping that left leg round the right. So we can have the balls of the feet on the floor, or we can try and hook that foot round the calf. You might find this side is a lot wobblier than the other side, or maybe you feel more stable on this side. Just playing with our balance here, trying to find what works for you. If you fall out of any of the poses, just bring yourself back in to the pose in your own time. Staying present with our breath. Exhaling, we can gently release, guiding that foot either to rest on the floor, to the inner calf, or all the way up to the inner thigh for our tree pose. Keeping the right knee pulling out to the side so that we're opening up the right hip. And that standing leg is nice and strong. And if, like me, you fall out of the pose, just gently find that spot to focus on and bring yourself back into the pose. You can always stand up against a wall for this pose to help you with your stability. And again, staying where you are for one more breath. We're then going to take it into our warrior 3. So exhaling, gently release that foot. And then inhaling, extending it behind us. Take your time. For me, I'm a lot wobblier on this side. And lengthening through the left leg, flexing that back foot, and hips are square to the ground. Core is engaged. And then exhaling, bringing that left leg back in and up towards the chest. Again, we can just hold on to the knee here if that's plenty. Or we can then bring the left arm to the inside of the leg and using the peace fingers to grab hold of the big toe. Taking a breath and then exhaling, we can extend the left leg. Again, the standing leg is nice and strong. Allow a little micro bend in the knee. You can always use a strap here if you can't quite reach the big toe. You can just wrap the strap around the foot. Core is nice and strong. And then exhale, gently release that foot back down. Great. So we could just shake the legs out, give them a little bit of a breather after that hard work. And then we're going to bring ourselves down to the mat. So inhale, arms out and up, look up. Exhale, fold forwards, belly to thighs. Inhale for our half lift. Shins, we can bring our hands to shins or thighs. Exhale, fold forwards. And then inhale, step it back to plank, into downward facing dog, sorry. We'll just take a few breaths here. You can paddle the feet or you can find stillness. And then exhaling, gently bring the knees down onto the mat. Untuck the toes and take it back into our child's pose. And we're just going to rest here for a little while. You can have the arms extended in front, or you can take the arms down by the sides. Personal preference here. And just taking a moment to reconnect with our breath. Bring our awareness back to the breath. You can always rest the forehead on the backs of the hands if that feels better. And then anyway, we're going to inhale, bring the hands, fingertips underneath the shoulders and just gently lift ourselves up so that we're sat up on the heels. We can then bring ourselves to sitting back in our cross-legged position. Nice and comfy, spine nice and tall, shoulders are on the back, slight tuck in the chin, placing the hands on the knees or together in the lap. And closing the eyes, bringing our awareness back to our breath. So again, just observing the natural rhythm here. And just be aware of how the breath feels in the body. Maybe you feel like you can feel the breath deep in the belly. And maybe the breath doesn't feel quite so restricted as it did perhaps at the beginning of this little sequence. And then we can take 5 nice deep breaths in, breathing all the way deep into the belly. And exhaling completely. You can do this at your own pace. 4 more nice deep breaths to yourself. One more breath. And then we can let our breath just come back to its natural rhythm again. Taking a moment to thank yourself for taking some time to challenge yourself today. And thank your body for what it's capable of. We can then bring our hands in prayer in front of the chest, bow the head down, and gently open the eyes and lift the head. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me, guys.